You're about to watch a compilation video of the first 15/14 season and review videos for Fortnite Festival, beginning back in 2023 and ending with the most recent finished season, which was Leve's. The reason I decided to make this was mostly for archival purposes. It's interesting to look back throughout the last nearly 3 years that Fortnite Festival has been operating and seeing, how the game changed or how little it changed, which is disappointing for a lot of people. So yeah, I just wanted to disclose that there's technically no new content here with the exception of Leve's video, which obviously was its own thing on my main channel. I also took the liberty of restoring a couple segments that got muted in their original uploads due to copyright, so those are going to be listenable again. I'll put more details in the description for those that are curious, but for now, kick your feet up, relax, and binge 2.5 years of one of the most polarizing rhythm games I've ever played. Yes, I am quite aware that the last couple of videos on this YouTube channel have been rhythm game related, what of it? In November of 2021, it was announced that Harmonix was purchased by Epic Games, the company behind Fortnite. Now, if you don't know what Fortnite is, what kind of sound and penetrating rock have you been living under? Fortnite started its life as a simple tower defense game that later evolved into a battle royale, which due to its free-to-play nature, exploded and became quite popular. Even to this day, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of concurrent players across all the game modes. But what would a company who created a free-to-play battle royale and runs an online game store do with a company like Harmonix? Well, on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023, we finally got our answer. Originally disguised as an Eminem concert, at 2 p.m. we got a peek at the future of Fortnite, showing off Lego Fortnite, which, have you ever played Minecraft? Yup. Rocket Racing, which is basically just a racing game using the Rocket League cars, and then finally, when the Eminem concert started, a highway appears, and this is what Harmonix has been cooking. Cut to almost a month later, this game mode has over 50,000 concurrent players, at least at the time of this recording. To make it short, Fortnite Festival is basically Rock Band 5. It is a highway-based guitar-style rhythm game where you hit notes in time with the beat, inspired by both Guitar Hero and Rock Band because, shocker, it was developed by the people that made Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Because of that, the timing window feels very similar to the Rock Band games, albeit a little bit more forgiving, and some of the charts are just straight up pulled from the prior Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. It's not even fucking subtle. I mean, hell, the overdrive gauge is still called overdrive, like it is in Rock Band. Now, despite all this, there are a couple unique gameplay differences that Fortnite Festival does add into the equation. For example, the previously mentioned overdrive gauge can be activated at any time as long as you have something in there. You don't have to wait until it's halfway full anymore. Additionally, this 5-lane gameplay that you're seeing in front of you is only on the expert difficulty, as Hard and Below features 4 lanes of gameplay similar to the Eminem concert, which I showed off earlier. The biggest gameplay change, however, in my opinion, is the addition of lift notes. Now, there are no hammer-ons and pull-offs in this game mode because I don't think you could make that work on a standard controller, so instead Harmonix added lift notes, where basically you just have to release the note you're holding right as that particular note reaches the strike line. The higher up in difficulty that you go, the more precise these lift notes need to be. However, it is worth mentioning that these can just be played as normal notes if you don't want to use them as lift notes. Aside from that, it's pretty much just Guitar Hero or Rock Band. It's the same gameplay that you know and either love or hate, with the ability to emote and with no need to strum, at least not yet. In an interview with Game Informer, a couple Epic employees kinda sorta hinted that plastic guitar instrument support would be coming in the near future, and surprise, surprise, PDP is making one. But you will also be able to use legacy instruments, and I'm assuming that includes stuff like Roll Limitless and Arduino guitars? Now, the idea that you would be able to use plastic instruments a la Guitar Hero and Rock Band has been in the game's code since day one, as all of the songs have dedicated MIDI files with actual plastic guitar mapping, demonstrated here by this charting of Kendrick Lamar's I in the Rock Band engine that looks incredibly fucking fun, by the way. Fortnite Festival is going to have a rotating set list, giving players the opportunity to buy songs that they end up enjoying, or pass them up and play the next rotation of songs the next week, with new songs being added weekly. For a current-gen version of Guitar Hero or Rock Band, which Fortnite Festival absolutely is in my opinion, this style of monetization actually makes a lot of sense, and it was already tried in Guitar Hero Live, albeit incredibly sloppily, and this ended up actually getting the game killed. Fortnite Festival, however, does genuinely seem like it has a bright future. A free-to-play model in a rhythm game makes a lot of sense. Give players the opportunity to buy songs they like and try out songs that they're unsure of. And introducing this as a game mode to Fortnite, which already has a gigantic install base in the millions, was definitely the way to go. And for casual rhythm fans and most gamers, this is going to be the definitive way of playing a next-generation Guitar Hero or Rock Band experience. But for us in the hardcore, it does kind of put us in a strange spot. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think anyone's objecting to the fact that this game exists. If anything, it's turning more and more people onto the 5-fret lane style of gameplay that all of us Guitar Hero and Rock Band fans know and love. But it's with that gameplay that we have to ask ourselves, what's the point in playing this over something that's free to play that was created by the community? Projects like Score Spy and Yarg exist nowadays with a seemingly infinite library of music that you can play completely for free on any computer. All you gotta do is download the library of songs from prior Guitar Hero and Rock Band games and drop them into a folder, and these are set to go. However, I would argue that Fortnite Festival's biggest competition is the game that likely inspired it, Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition. This is an overhaul of the Guitar Hero World Tour PC port that fixes all of the bugs, along with adding options for custom characters, stages, music, instruments, etc. If this doesn't look like Fortnite Festival to you, I don't know what does. I am almost certain someone from Epic Games saw gameplay from Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition and thought, hey, we could do that ourselves, but legally and with any of the licenses we wanted. So, with all that being said, what should you play? Fortnite Festival, Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition, Yarg, Score Spy? To be honest, it doesn't really matter. The fun thing about Fortnite Festival, and the reason why I'm happy this exists, is because it's reuniting an entire generation of gamers that may have completely forgotten about the Guitar Hero and Rock Band formula from almost 20 years ago, along with introducing it to an entirely new generation of gamers, and because of that, I'm just happy that this game exists at all. Fortnite Festival has an incredibly promising future ahead of it, filled with a bunch of very passionate gamers, both new and old, who want to experience for the first time and re-experience the Guitar Hero and Rock Band formula that revolutionized a genre nearly 2 decades ago. And that makes me very happy. Relapsing back to making Fortnite Festival videos because rhythm gaming is one hell of a drug. As of the recording of this video, Fortnite Festival Season 3 is only a couple days away, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that this game mode has genuinely been pretty great. I've met a lot of very cool people, I've played a lot of very fun matches, and it really is something that highway-style rhythm games are coming back to the mainstream, with rumors of a new Guitar Hero even floating around to rival Fortnite Festival, which, hey, that doesn't hurt. Competition is always a good thing. That's why we got such good set lists in the later Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. Between the time I made my last Fortnite Festival video and this one, the Riff Master by PDP was officially revealed and sold, and completely sold out, so I think we can expect more manufacturers to follow suit with their own versions of guitars coming forward soon. That is quite a safe bet, at least. I highly doubt that the third-party manufacturers that were watching PDP's website and noticing the guitars sell out in record time aren't going to want a piece of that pie. So if you weren't able to score a Riffmaster pre-order, there will be more opportunities in the future, both from PDP and I'm sure from other manufacturers. Getting back to the game itself, Fortnite Festival has seen some definite improvements, some of which I asked for in the previous video. The UI has been overhauled, at least in the menus a little bit, which is nice. The calibration menu seems like it's a little bit more precise now, and there's a dedicated music store just like in the Rock Band games, which is always a plus. You no longer have to wait for your favorite songs to cycle into the shop, and I'm sure the artists that are also making money off this game agree that this was a very, very good decision. I'm also starting to receive less graphical bugs. They definitely do still exist. The biggest one for me right now is when someone leaves mid-song. Sometimes the remaining player character models will clip into each other and animate over each other and make kind of an ugly mess. It's a little funny to look at, but it's not something I want to see in the game. But again, to give Harmonix credit, they have been trying to squash these bugs to the best of their abilities, and I do genuinely believe them. Now, to play a game of devil's advocate here, Fortnite Festival is still far from perfect. It does genuinely feel like the original game we got back in December was a bit of a beta, a test to see how well the formula could work. Because we're still, to this day, nearly 3 seasons in, missing huge features that the first Guitar Hero and Rock Band games have had baked into them. The first one that immediately pops into my mind, which is super frustrating, is there's no restart button when you're playing single player, which makes absolutely zero sense to me. If I mess up early on, I have to go all the way back out into the menu and reselect the song and restart it from there. I don't understand why there's no restart button in Fortnite Festival. It is super aggravating, and it genuinely has made me quit the game a few times to play Yarg instead. Like, I don't understand why that's not here. Another missing feature, which is absolutely baffling to me, is that there's no practice mode. Now, this is something that I thought Harmonix would have added day one, essentially, because of how much crap they got from Rock Band 4 not having it all the way back in 2015. Guitar Hero 2, another game that Harmonix released nearly 10 years before that, had a practice mode built in. And the first Guitar Hero game is going on 2 decades old next year. Yes, really, check for gray hairs. So after 20 years of making highway-based rhythm games, you think that they would be putting practice modes into them, but nope, for some reason it's just not in Fortnite Festival. This one is a little bit more annoying to me than a restart button not being there, because in practice mode you're able to loop sections so that way you can nail them and practice them before you actually play them. But the most annoying part of Fortnite Festival, to me at least, isn't anything gameplay related, because the gameplay is totally solid, even with the problems I just mentioned. The only part of Fortnite Festival that does genuinely get on my nerves is the inconsistent censorship in the jam tracks. Now, I'm of the belief that music is art and art should not be censored, unless absolutely necessary or a history-defining changing moment. Everything should be preserved as is. But I also do understand that America is very sensitive to naughty words like shit and fuck, and thus rhythm games should not have them because little Timmy might learn those words and say them. It's dumb, it's been engraved into society for this long, I don't expect it to change. I understand why censorship is here. But what bothers me is the fact that the censorship in Fortnite Festival is so damn inconsistent. What's My Age Again by Blink-182 censors the word sodomy and replaces it with the TV, yet Disturbed's Down with the Sickness has the entire abuse section at the end of the song pretty much untouched with a couple words censored. Now, if you think that that's a bit too abstract of an example, they sometimes censor the exact same word that they leave uncensored in other songs. Take, for example, Olivia Rodrigo's Get 'Em Back.
It's because everyone knew all of the that he do.
Compare that to the recently released Moves Like Jagger by Maroon 5.
My ego is big, I don't give a shit.
See what I mean? It's so weirdly inconsistent, and genuinely I just wish they would either censor the songs or not. A couple months ago they released Green Day DLC, which featured a couple songs from Dookie, and while the 3 songs are definitely solid choices, I wondered why Longview wasn't included because that's one of the more popular songs on Dookie, but now I'm starting to believe that they just weren't sure how to censor it, and that's probably why they left it omitted, which sucks, because if that's going to be the reason we don't get certain songs in the future because Harmonix isn't quite sure how to censor them, it's not going to lead to a lot of net wins. Anyways, enough bitching, let's get back to the good things, which is there's a new season coming out in a few days, and that's genuinely super exciting. I have been in love with this game mode, and I can't wait for instrument support to finally be added, which supposedly is happening with Season 3. I'm very, very excited to be able to use a plastic guitar in Fortnite Festival, and for a lot of people, this is going to be their gateway into discovering music rhythm experiences with peripherals, which is super exciting. The Festival Pass is also something I'm excited for because it pretty much always guarantees that I'm gonna grind the shit out of the game for at least a few days and gives me something to look forward to. A lot of people have complained about the price of the Festival Pass and the jam tracks costing $5 a piece when Rock Band DLC, I believe the songs were $1.99 each. But to give Harmonix a little bit of credit here, inflation is a thing, and these songs would almost certainly cost $5 nowadays if Rock Band released today. And Fortnite also gives you a higher value for your songs because you can use them in Fortnite Festival, and you can also bust them out as emotes at any time in Battle Royale and creative maps. So enough of my yapping, what are your thoughts on Fortnite Festival up to this point? Did you manage to score Riffmaster? Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to get mine, and yes, for those asking, I will be doing a video review when it arrives. This has been Dan Rock, and until next time, peace out and rock on. Wow, 4 seasons into Fortnite Festival already. Time really does fly. At this rate, I expect my AARP card in the mail by next week. Fortnite Festival is officially 6 months old. 4 seasons in, kinda crazy to think about. We've had a ton of gameplay changes introduced in Festival, with the most obvious one being the Pro Lead and Pro Bass editions, which we will be getting to. Beyond that, we had Billie Eilish as our icon for this season, and next season we appear to have Metallica, which is really cool. I definitely appreciate the callback to the metal and rock crowd from rhythm game authors and Harmonix, because that's what the original Guitar Hero games consisted of mostly. And it's always fun to see an old school Guitar Hero or Rock Band song get freshly recharted with a new coat of paint in Fortnite Festival. The charting in general has actually been pretty on point this season when it comes to the pro instruments. Well, with the exception of Ariana Grande's positions.
The fuck was that?
But it's nice to finally be able to play these parts on an actual plastic guitar officially supported in Fortnite Festival. Although, if you remember back to the start of the season, it certainly didn't launch that way. As soon as the season started, PDP's Riffmaster immediately began shipping out to a bunch of customers, myself included, and it became apparent that PDP were more or less in bed with Epic Games when it comes to the launch of the instrument, because you could only play with the Riffmaster or Rock Band 4 instruments at this mode's launch. You couldn't remap any X input device to play Pro Lead with a standard controller or other plastic guitar. You had to have either a Rock Band 4 instrument or a Riffmaster, and a lot of people really weren't happy about this. To start, a lot of people's Riffmaster pre-orders were getting delayed pretty much indefinitely, which means a lot of people were without a way of playing Pro Lead unless they had Rock Band 4 instruments already, which kind of have a reputation for not being amazing, and if we're talking about the Mad Catz ones, that's being incredibly generous. The Rock Band 4 Stratocasters feel like dog shit, they've always felt terrible, and they're getting worse with age. But here's Epic Games and Harmonix basically telling you that you have to use these aging old instruments, or you have to get very, very lucky and get your Riffmaster now in order to play this brand new game mode. Oh, but in the words of the producer of Fortnite Festival, maybe the community could cook something up. That's real fucking classy, dude. Just do it! Anyway, the game eventually added the ability to map any guitar that you just have laying around into Fortnite Festival, so that completely fixes the problems, right? Now, I have to get into boring, nerdy game dev territory here, so forgive me and bear with me for a few minutes, but unfortunately, the engine for the pro instruments in Fortnite Festival is fundamentally broken compared to every single previous Guitar Hero and Rock Band game ever released. So the first two Guitar Hero and Rock Band games were developed by Harmonix, the same company that made Fortnite Festival, and in those games, you're incentivized to press and hold down the fret before the note reaches the strike line and strum right as it overlaps the strike line. However, as the songs got harder down the set list, there were times where you don't really necessarily have the opportunity to do that. You have to press the fret the exact same time that you strum. So the game gives you a little bit of lax there and basically lets you press both buttons at the exact same time and still counts it as a hit note. Fortnite Festival does not do this. If you are not pressing and holding the fret before the note crosses the strike line, it counts as a miss. It's almost like Festival can't handle two buttons being pressed at the exact same time. It's so strange. And what's even weirder is the fact that the hammer-on and pull-off engine is incredibly lax. It's not an infinite front end like it is in Guitar Hero 3, but I've still been able to cheese some ho-pos pretty easily. So why is strumming so strict? They've unintentionally made one of the hardest engines I've ever played for a rhythm game. To be fair, you can calibrate for this, and it makes the game a little bit more playable, but it's still not ideal. I would really like if this was an option, or if they just fixed it so that way you can strum at the same time that you fret. It would just be a nice little feature to have. But enough bitching and moaning, let's talk about the good things again. I'm really digging the aesthetics. They've added a ton of new animations to the characters on stage, including them bouncing really, really fast, which makes me laugh every single time. I know it's probably not intentional, but holy shit, it's good. But on top of that, they've also added a ton of aesthetic items that are included in the Festival Pass, and also just unlockable through gameplay for free. Playing online still feels fantastic. I feel like I'm getting paired up with more expert players now than I was before. I'm not sure if it like ranks with your level or whatever, but it's cool because I'm able to get gold stars on songs that I wouldn't have been able to if I was playing with people below expert, so I do appreciate that. The song choices have also been really cool. We've gotten everything from pop to hip hop to rock to metal. We've even gotten the fucking Star Wars Cantina Band theme, which is a really good chart. It's really fun. We've never seen a variety this big in a Guitar Hero or Rock Band game, so it's really cool to have a set list that's this diverse. No matter what music you listen to, you will find a song on Fortnite Festival that you will enjoy playing. And even if you don't have a pro instrument, the other charts for gamepad have been fantastic. I really do like jumping on vocals every now and then to change things up. I really hope they're able to add pro drum support in for all of my homies that enjoy drumming. I know there's a ton of people that have been dying to get new drum sets for Rock Band, so it would be really cool to have some officially made and supported. And this new season is looking pretty damn good, with even a battle mode being leaked. Now that is going to be fun. I hope it's like Guitar Hero 3 with the power-ups that you can throw at each other. Imagine a battle royale mode with like 50 or 60 other guitarists where the chart keeps getting faster and harder until only one remains. Like, that would be really cool. I don't know, I'm excited. I really do hope they fix the timing window for the strumming and fretting at the same time, because that's really the only major modern complaint I have. Following up from the last video, the censorship is still annoying. Certain songs are, certain songs aren't. I don't understand. Maybe it's a thing with the labels. I don't get it. But in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of small potatoes. If I don't hear the word sodomy in Fortnite, I'm not going to lose sleep at night. Anyways, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this new season. What are you guys most excited for? What did you think about the Billie Eilish season? And more importantly than that, who are you guys hoping to get a season in the future? I'm hoping for a Green Day season because it would be kind of cool to see like a Green Day Rock Band spiritual successor. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'll see you on the leaderboards. Peace out and rock on. How exciting! I've always wanted James Hetfield to teach me how to Dougie. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its 5th season, so check for gray hairs. First and foremost, I apologize if my audio setup sounds a little strange throughout this video. Typically, I record my monologues through my Fifine condenser mic into my MacBook. However, my MacBook was deciding to reject every single audio input for some reason. This computer is definitely worth $4,000. Apple makes very quality products, as you can tell. So I apologize if my audio quality is a little strange. I had to default to a backup microphone. Hopefully by next video, my audio setup will be back to normal, or I will have lit my MacBook on fire, whatever comes first. Anyway, this past season of Fortnite Festival has definitely seen some major improvements and enhancements over the last couple of seasons, and I definitely want to take some time to talk about them. Firstly, credit where credit's due, Harmonix and Epic Games have fixed the timing window on Pro Lead and Pro Bass. Hammer-ons and pull-offs still feel a little broken, not in like a bad way, kind of like in a Clone Hero-y spammy way, which honestly I don't think that's too much of a bad thing considering the fact that a lot of players are going to be transitioning from Clone Hero to Fortnite Festival. We have an entirely new game mode based off of Fortnite Festival called Battle Stage, which I will be getting into very shortly. And for this season's icon, you can unlock all 4 members of Metallica, from Lars to Kirk to Robert to, of course, James. Now, I may be a little bit biased here because I'm a little bit more of a metal fan than I am a pop fan, but I really do think in terms of icons, this is the best season so far. Mostly because when you think of metal, you think of Metallica. They're pretty much synonymous with the genre. And they have a pretty good song selection from Metallica in here as well. Of course, you have the obvious picks like Enter Sandman, Nothing Else Matters, One, Master of Puppets, which was already an emote in Fortnite. But then you also have stuff like Lux Eterna from 72 Seasons and Battery, which was originally in Rock Band 2. Both kick-ass tracks and 100% deserving to be in Fortnite Festival. The Metallica song choices have been awesome, and the rest of the season hasn't been too shabby either. We got Alice in Chains, we got Slipknot, and even this past week we got a 3-pack of Guns N' Roses consisting of Paradise City, Welcome to the Jungle, and of course Sweet Child of Mine. Now, the latter 2 songs actually have some history with Harmonix. Sweet Child of Mine was charted by them for Guitar Hero 2 back in the day, and when Harmonix was first demonstrating Rock Band 1 off, they used a cover of Welcome to the Jungle, so it's nice to see these songs finally fleshed out with full charts by Harmonix. And naturally, I also have a soft spot for Welcome to the Jungle because it was a Guitar Hero 3 classic. And speaking of Guitar Hero 3, this past season, Epic Games and Harmonix decided to introduce a new game mode called Battle Stage. And let me tell you, it's okay. It's basically a score-based battle royale where you can launch attacks at other players to hurt their scores while improving your own with overdrive. If you've played Guitar Hero 3 and you've ever used the amp overload attack on another player, it's basically the exact same thing. It's really nothing special, and I wish that this game mode was a little bit more fleshed out, and I'm hoping this next season will introduce maybe some new power-ups or something just to keep it fresh, because after a couple of rounds and after only a couple of victories, I feel no reason to go back and play more Battle Stage. I have far more fun score chasing with my friends in the leaderboards than I have playing this game mode, so I'm hoping they really do add some new features to it. But aside from that, the game feels better than it ever has. The song choices recently have been phenomenal, and the fact that Battle Stage is even an option shows that Epic Games and Harmonix are both listening to us. So that's really cool. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and I do have to complain about a few things. First and foremost, I know I complain about this every single season, but it's really sad that I've had to bring this up every single season. Harmonix,
We are 5 seasons into a rhythm game. Why isn't there a fucking restart button? Or a practice mode at the very least, ideally both. But the fact that there's no restart button in a rhythm game and you have to back all the way out into either the lobby or the main menu to restart a song is quite frankly unacceptable. It was ridiculous doing it at launch, and 5 seasons in, it's fucking laughable that a basic restart button isn't enabled in Fortnite Festival. That's just crazy to me. Harmonix has dropped the ball with basic rhythm game features since Rock Band 4's launch, and after the whipping that they got for not having a practice mode at Rock Band 4's launch, I would have sworn by now Fortnite Festival would have had one, but I guess they either just don't care or they just don't know how to work it in. Guys, just make it a separate game mode if nothing else. And while I'm in complaining mode, it would also be nice to have more than one venue to stare at while you're playing the normal game mode. I understand Battle Stage is a completely different beast, and every single season they do redesign the main stage a little bit to fit a little bit more with the artists, but it would be nice to be able to select a venue like you could in the early Rock Band and Guitar Hero games, because it does get a little boring looking at the same thing every single time. But honestly, that's small potatoes compared to the restart button. Please, for the love of God, add a restart button. This game so desperately needs it, especially as we're starting to get harder and harder charts. The last thing I'll complain about is the jam stage, just because this game mode has so much potential and I feel like it's constantly falling on its face. This is a fun ass game mode and I would really love to see something cool come out of it, even if it's just something simple like saving custom mixes or basically turning it into something like Fuser, which shouldn't be a problem because Harmonix also made that game, so you know, that would be cool. Also, is it just me or does this game mode attract children like a magnet?
Not around. Whoa, whoa. I want to play some Metallica, not some Post Malone. Does anybody have any Metallica?
Circling back to the good things, they have added a couple of newer features that are actually kind of cool. The ability to use any of your jam tracks as lobby music is definitely one of them. I love queuing up songs like Welcome to the Jungle or Heartbreaker to have on as background music. It reminds me a lot of the early Guitar Hero games where those songs would play over the menus. And of course, the charting overall has also been pretty good for this game mode recently. There's a couple questionable charts here and there. Whoever charted Sabotage by the Beastie Boys, who hurt you? But like I said, Fortnite Festival so far feels the best it's ever felt. The timing window is tight but fair, the hammer-ons and pull-offs feel a little loose but fun, and the game as a whole leaves a lot of reasons to keep returning back to it. I just wish a couple of the issues that I had could just be ironed out just a tad, and this would be a pretty definitive rhythm game experience for this day and age. But definitely let me know what you guys think about this past season of Fortnite Festival. Have you guys been having fun with the game? Are you still playing it? Leave me a comment down below, and oh, before I forget, I gotta see who the next season icon is. I'm sure it's... Who?
The season of Fortnite Festival has gone on for so long, I'm too tired to think of a cold open. Unless this counts as a cold open, in which case, you're welcome. Fortnite Festival is turning 1 year old in a little over a month. Isn't that terrifying? Just like every season before this, I'm going to be going through all the major changes and talking about improvements that have been made since last season. So let's start with the... Wow, there's not a lot here. Well, let's start with the new icon. We have Carol G representing this season of Fortnite Festival. I'll admit that I wasn't familiar with Carol G's music at first, and after hearing it, it is most certainly pop music. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. With the mostly joking way I closed out the last video, I had a lot of people jump on me and assume that I was a brainless metalhead and didn't listen to any other genre. And I gotta say, as somebody who's gotten multiple scholarships due to my dedication to music, as well as multiple certifications through the Musicianship Achievement Program in Connecticut, I find that to be a little bit insulting. Of course, you don't have to be certified in anything to enjoy music, and I don't mean to come across like an elitist asshat here, but it just goes to show that, although everyone of course has genre preferences, I could get down with any genre. I appreciate the artistic medium of music as a whole. And while yes, I do have bands like Metallica, Avenged, Slipknot, and Korn on my iPod, I also have the Gorillaz, I have Fall Out Boy, I have Green Day, I have Kesha, I have Blackpink. My musical taste is all over the goddamn place. Some people might say I straight up don't have a taste, but
Honestly, I'll take that over listening to the same stuff over and over again. Hell, here's a screen recording of my YouTube music that unironically goes from Hatsune Miku and Anamanaguchi to Fuck Time by Green Day unprompted, and you know what? I'm kinda proud of that. All of that to say, I didn't go into this season with a negative bias because I disliked Karol G. I went into this season not knowing who she was, and that's why I didn't buy the festival pass. I just didn't know enough about her, and now that I've listened to her music, it is perfectly fine, but still not something I'm probably gonna buy the festival pass for. Well, it's too late now anyway. The festival main stage has been redesigned to fit Karol G's aesthetics more than the last season's fiery Metallica aesthetics, and I think it looks nice. Still crossing my fingers that at some point we can have multiple venues at once, like the Guitar Hero and Rock Band games, so that way the background doesn't look super samey over and over again, but honestly at this point, I'm not holding my breath. The battle stage hasn't seen any visual improvements, not that I can tell, and honestly, I'll just be blunt here, I haven't noticed any gameplay improvements either here. It plays pretty much the exact same as last season. Speaking of the battle mode, one thing that was admittedly pretty cool is that Epic Games flew out a bunch of Fortnite Festival and rhythm game content creators out to a real-life battle stage where they competed IRL, and honestly, that's pretty cool. The winner was Jake, aka a Wise Moose, who came in first place and won a Golden Riffmaster. Now you may also know Jake as Guitar Hero Rocks on YouTube, i.e. the guy that was able to full combo full series the entirety of Guitar Hero, and I think the entirety of Rock Band at this point. I'm not sure what kind of weird symbiote shapeshifting god Jake is to be able to not only full combo the entirety of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, but also win the Golden Riffmaster with ease in this Fortnite tournament. Either way, congrats Jake, you earned it. I'm also sending a paranormal investigation group to your house because I need to find out exactly what the hell you are. There's no way you're human. Anyway, back to Fortnite Festival itself. In terms of positive gameplay changes, we finally have a restart button. It only took them almost a fucking year, but I'm happy to see that this very basic, essential rhythm game element that has been in every single Guitar Hero and Rock Band game since day one has finally made its way into Fortnite Festival. Now, harmonics, can we get a damn practice mode? Actually, probably gonna have to wait another year for that one. As for other positive changes this season, I'm a level with you guys, this season wasn't great. There have been so many bugs that have come and gone that have made the game virtually unplayable for a lot of people. First off, the hammer-on and pull-off bug. Now this one's pretty bad and it's affected me quite a few times. Basically, in the past Guitar Hero and Rock Band games, for hammer-ons and pull-offs, you're able to strum on a previously fretted note and then immediately switch to the correct note afterwards, and the game will still count it as a hit, which understandably, that's how the game should work. However, for this particular season of Fortnite Festival, that isn't how it works. Here's a direct example from Soya. She explains it far better than I can.
I'm gonna hit this first red hammer on. Watch this. Wow, amazing, right? Okay. Now I'm gonna do essentially exactly the same thing, but watch. What happened there, right? If you strum and you're not holding the correct color, you have a few milliseconds to adjust and switch to the correct color fret, and the game will still accept that as a hit note. If you ever do this in Fortnite Festival, any resulting hopos will now not work. That goes a long way to explaining clips like this, where I have been tearing my hair out trying to FC this song, and I keep missing the same note over and over and over and over again.
So yeah, that's a little bit annoying, and it breaks playing a lot of charts where you don't want to strum every single note. I feel like I'm playing Guitar Hero 1-up in this bitch. But on top of that, this past season, you couldn't even emote during song breaks, otherwise the game would register the next note as a miss, regardless if you're holding down the fret and strumming. This is incredibly irritating, isn't it, Jason?
What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Another issue that I personally ran into, and this is something that I can verify is widespread by the YouTube comments I've gotten from the last video, the calibration menu has reset for a lot of players, so if you absolutely tuned in your calibration perfectly between last season and this season, and like me, you didn't memorize or screenshot your calibration numbers, you're gonna be a little disappointed to find out that you have to redo that whole thing. And it's not like the earlier Guitar Hero and Rock Band games where the calibration was as easy as just going through the calibration menu. Fortnite Festival has a little bit of extra lag that you have to factor in with the plus or minus milliseconds at the end of the song. So those are the more serious bugs that popped up this last season, but there's also a couple visual things that haven't been fixed yet. For example, there are points in the song where your character will randomly stop animating aside from the hands and the head, and I don't understand why this happens. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it looks really sloppy. And the most common visual bug that I ran into, this happened like every other song for me, the instruments would just randomly disappear for the other band members. Never for me, just for the NPCs on the stage, or occasionally if I played online. There's nothing I could do to trigger this or to make it not trigger. It just sort of happened at random, and it happened both on the PC and PS5 version, so not sure exactly what's going on in the back end to cause this. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I hate to leave this video off on such a dour note, but this past season of Festival has had genuine significant problems, not only graphically and with glitches, but in terms of length as well. Having the festival season be the exact same length as a Battle Royale season was not a good move in my opinion, especially when the venue stage looks the exact same for the entire multi-month period. It ends up looking really stale, and it leads to a lot of fatigue from players. If there's one massive thumbs up I can give to Fortnite Festival, it's for rhythm game authors who've been charting all of the songs. I have given them some criticism in the past, but I do think overall they've stepped their game up tenfold, and you definitely can tell that these people enjoy doing their jobs. The charting being great overall has unfortunately been the only consistent thing in this past season of Fortnite Festival, which is both equally sad, but also I think deserves praise. So hats off to rhythm game authors, you guys are doing a great job. But what did you guys think about this past season of Fortnite Festival? Is there anything I missed? Are you excited for the next season? I know I am. I can't wait to have Snoop Dogg in both Call of Duty and Fortnite. We live in a really weird time, don't we? Anyway guys, peace out and take care. Fortnite Festival has grown up so fast, hasn't it? It seems like just yesterday that the icon was significantly less hairy. Fun fact, this opening dialogue is being recorded exactly 1 year and 1 week after my original Fortnite Festival video was posted back in December of 2023. Isn't that terrifying? Time is truly the enemy of us all, but as per tradition, we are here to talk about Fortnite Festival and its updates, and we have some pretty big things to talk about, and I might have some pretty unpopular opinions this time around. As per usual, let's start with the icon, and unlike last season when I had absolutely no idea who Karol G was, I was 100% familiar with Snoop Dogg. How couldn't I be? I play Call of Duty. In all seriousness, I do know Snoop Dogg is a musician as well. He's a very, very influential and important rap artist. Heck, I remember back when Blue Carpet Treatment came out, and that album is probably older than the grand majority of Fortnite players. I wouldn't say I'm a Snoop Dogg enthusiast, but I am definitely a passive fan of his music, and I can 100% respect him as a musician and an entrepreneur in more recent years. He's definitely a pop culture icon and 100% deserves to be in Fortnite. Getting that out of the way, I was a little pessimistic about how some of Snoop Dogg's songs would translate into charts in Fortnite Festival because there's not a lot going on in some of these instrumentals. While the vocal charts would doubtless be fun, I was a little worried about pro lead and pro bass being a little stale, and yeah, I've definitely played more exciting charts than this, but it's still fun to have Snoop's music in this game regardless. Now unfortunately, and this is going to be the first of many unpopular opinions, I don't think that a lot of songs were necessarily charted super well this season. As a big Sum 41 fan, I was really excited to see Fat Lip in this game, and while I don't think the chart is as bad as the Guitar Hero DLC chart, I still don't find it anywhere near as engaging as the Guitar Hero 1 version of this song, which came out 20 years ago this year. And while I don't play a ton of pad charts anymore, I've pretty much switched to pro lead and pro bass full time, some of the drum charts on pad look absolutely terrible. Take On Me does not look fun in the absolute slightest. I have zero envy for people that are stuck on pad. I am so sorry. I really hope they add pro drum support soon. Now that's not to say we haven't had any good charts in the game recently, far from it. Hips Don't Lie was surprisingly fun, especially the trills in the bridge section, and pretty much the entire last section of Right Round by Flo Rida is extremely fun. I really like the pattern that they have going on here. It's really fulfilling to hit. I do find overall the charting to be a little disappointing, especially considering the fact that the charting during the Metallica season was really damn good, and that seems like forever ago at this point. So I hope that rhythm game authors aren't giving up on the game, because it definitely seems like Epic Games is starting to. I don't think it's much of an unpopular opinion to say that Fortnite Festival hasn't really gotten a lot of the tender love and care that it's really deserved. Now, there have been some quality of life improvements, such as being able to jam out in the lobby. This is pretty cool, although I'm wondering now why it was absent for so long. This does unfortunately mean that less people have been queuing up for the jam stage, which is looking more and more like a ghost town nowadays. It actually took me quite a while to even get this gameplay footage because it was hard to find a lobby that either wasn't filled to the brim with the only remaining players or had 0 players to jam with. Battle Stage also hasn't seen any quality of life improvements whatsoever since the last video, and this I'm genuinely curious as to why, because it had so much potential and could have been so much bigger than it actually was, but it seems like they're just forgetting about it. But the real kick in the face here was the fact that there was pretty much no anniversary celebration for Festival. Now, Epic Games has been doing this cool thing called the OG game mode, where you can play with the new physics and new graphics, but using the original map from back in the day. It's actually quite fun. And more than anything, it's cool that Epic Games is willing to celebrate their past like this, but this sentiment only seems to apply to Battle Royale, as there's no celebrating Festival's past. The only things that we got for a 1-year anniversary for Fortnite Festival were 4 paid DLC skins and the ability to play any jam track in the game for free, which for people like me that buy most of the jam tracks is kinda pointless. So to recap, Epic Games has seemingly decided to allocate all of its resources in Fortnite Festival's 1-year anniversary towards the casual audience, while giving absolutely nothing to the hardcore audience other than the ability to spend more V-Bucks. And that I am not a very big fan of. Now, I'm not trying to gatekeep here. If they could make all these jam tracks permanently free for everyone, I'd be totally okay with that. But why not give the people that made your game so big in the first place a little extra something to celebrate the fact that they've spent so much time and money playing it? An anniversary, despite only being a year, is still not a small feat in this current landscape of gaming, where games barely last more than a month nowadays. Do you remember Concord? Of course you fucking don't, but you definitely remember Fortnite Festival, and I'm a little annoyed that Epic Games didn't go a little bit further to give the fans of Fortnite Festival, who have been spending their legitimate time and money on this game, more of an incentive to play it past its anniversary, because, I'll be honest, I'm getting kinda bored of Fortnite Festival. No amount of minuscule changes, such as being able to see the duration of the song, and then randomly halfway through the season, the song title, why wasn't that there from the start, can really replace the feeling that I get when I play something like Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition or Clone Hero. And this is the first season since before Fortnite Festival even existed that I've began playing other rhythm games far more than Fortnite Festival. I know that projects like Yarg might not have the spectacle that Fortnite Festival has with the 3D character models dancing around to the music, but what Yarg does have is an incredibly talented open development team that is sharing what their future editions are going to look like. Same with Clone Hero. When we all thought Clone Hero updates were dead and gone, they introduced a leaderboard mode coming out sometime this year. Again, these games don't have the spectacle of Fortnite Festival, and they certainly don't have the budget of Fortnite Festival either, but I find them to be interestingly more engaging and give me a lot more to look forward to in the future than Fortnite Festival, when after a year, we still don't have a damn practice mode. Why do the instruments still vanish from the character's hands mid-song? This happened more this season than any past season, by the way. Why is this game gaslighting me? Waiting for all players? Sir, I'm playing alone at 1:30 in the morning on a Saturday in my basement. Thank you for rubbing it in, asshole. I don't understand why the upkeep for this game has been the bare minimum. It reminds me of 2015. It reminds me of Guitar Hero Live and Rock Band 4's early days, when it wasn't a good time to be a rhythm gamer. And that just bums the hell out of me. I really hope I'm reading too deep into this and Harmonix are going to do something really interesting for this next season, because I feel like a lot of other people are starting to feel the festival fatigue. One really cool thing that did happen this season, and this is 100% community based, Epic had nothing to do with this, was Jason Paradise ran a Fortnite Festival tournament on Twitch, and it was really awesome to see all these incredibly talented rhythm gamers come together and participate in this awesome tournament, and the winner won a Neo Purple Wave S. Congratulations, Soya, I hope you enjoy your doohickey as much as I do. Speaking of the doohickey, if you haven't seen my review of this thing, it was manufactured by a company called Cracked, who you may know as Red Octane. Now, Red Octane, if you're unfamiliar, created the early Guitar Hero guitars and worked on the games along with Harmonix. These Red Octane guitars are arguably the best rhythm game peripherals ever made, at least in my opinion, and during the Game Awards, they announced that they're going to be going back to their guitar roots by releasing a new Les Paul style guitar this year, which is incredible. It's awesome to see Red Octane going back to their roots, and I can't wait to get my hands on one. So that's kind of a bittersweet ending to this whole thing. Although Epic doesn't seem to have as much love for Fortnite Festival as the community does, it's still nice to see projects like the tournament and the new Cracked guitar this year carrying the torch of this genre that we all love so much. And next season, we appear to have Hatsune Miku for the icon, which came out of absolutely nowhere, but I hope that the shakeup in genre also kind of instigates a shakeup in gameplay too. I would love to see something big happen with Festival to get the player base just as excited as they were this time last year. But I'd love to know your guys' thoughts about this past season of Fortnite Festival, so leave me a comment. This has been Dan Rock, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out, and take care. To directly quote Benjamin Franklin, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain, except death, taxes, and Hatsune Miku breaking the internet when she appears in a new video game. I think he said that. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its 8th season, and leading up to recording this video, I had an alarmingly large number of people asking me if I was planning on doing a seasonal recap for Season 7. Well, you're watching this video, so I guess y'all know the answer to that, but man, towards the end of this past season, I was genuinely unsure if I really wanted to do a seasonal recap this time around. More on that later. For now, we gotta talk about Miku. As I alluded to in the last episode, our seasonal icon for Season 7 of Fortnite Festival is Hatsune Miku, a virtual idol based off of a voice synthesis software called Vocaloid. I've been a passive fan of Miku for a couple years. In the past, I was never a Miku enthusiast, but I have enjoyed what I've heard. I've had the Anamanaguchi song on my playlist for a while, I really dug Melt, and of course I was more than familiar with the Yevon Poker remix that was popularized by Leakspin in the early 2010s. I was looking forward to expanding my horizons and learning some new Miku songs this season, even if there were only a handful to start with, despite one of them barely even counting as a Miku song. The charting surprised me. Pretty much all of the headliner songs are charted super well this season, my favorite being World Is Mine, with the pentachord shapes climbing the neck in the second half of the chorus. That's fun. Even when you're not playing the guitar, the vocal and drum charting has also seemed genuinely decent for the Miku-specific songs. Color me impressed. We've also overall had an okay variety in terms of genres and styles this past season, which has been fun, but man, I miss Guitar Hero's focus on rock songs. We've gotten a couple, but ever since the Metallica season, a lot of the focus has noticeably shifted. Still holding out hope for some more Avenged or something soon. We also finally got the addition of local multiplayer, thank God, and probably the most noteworthy positive addition aside from Hatsune Miku was Through the Fire and Flames. The best part was that this was a free jam track that anyone could earn by simply playing a few rounds of Battle Royale. Or Custom Car Tycoon, whatever. And next up we have Sabrina Carpenter. What do you think the chances are that we can get a Juno position emote? Now that I've said that out loud, probably 0. So yeah, this season's going great so far. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, I wasn't really being subtle with that transition, but I don't really care. There's one gigantic issue that Festival has now, and it's something that will likely never go away. However, before we get there, I want to discuss some of the other issues that people have had during the season. First of all, a lot of people, including myself, straight up couldn't play the season for more than a few minutes at a time at first. My ass would get booted back to the lobby with a jarring media streaming error staring me directly in the face. This was eventually kinda patched. It still happens now sometimes with song restarts, and it's incredibly annoying, but it's not happening as often as it once was, so there's that. A few days after the season began, Epic introduced the ability to view past season leaderboards. They had vaguely mentioned in the past that they were saving previous season data for later viewing, but the time has finally arrived for broken leaderboards that don't work properly. It only showed your placement among friends, and it combined the seasons together with the unfairly broken Season 2 scores that have currently impossible to reach numbers consistently at the top. Great job, guys. Needless to say, after a little over a week, these were scrapped, and Epic announced that they're going to be reworking them. But like, when is that gonna happen? It's been over a year and I still can't see my Season 1 scores. As of the time of recording, this feature has yet to be added back to the game ever since its removal in mid-February. While we're on the topic of issues popping up as the season progressed, where the hell was Miku? She had 2 song drops, a skin in the shop, and the festival pass. That's it. She didn't even get a concert, which, why? They've done concerts for the past festival icons. They could have done such cool shit with her. They could have absolutely gone all out on the virtual aesthetic, but nope, nothing. It's almost like Miku's inclusion was something of an afterthought. Her stage looks cool, but even that doesn't scream Miku to me. At least they changed the aesthetics for Battle Stage this time, so the 14 people that queue up for that game mode can enjoy that. I miss when Jam Stage wasn't dead. I do have some issues with the charting as the season went on. Now, the original headliner Miku tracks I still think are charted fairly and well, but as time progressed, we wound up getting some interesting charts later in the season. The best example I can give of this is Roar by Katy Perry with these incredibly questionably charted split chords and lift notes on drums. What the hell were they thinking? And while we're on the topic of this particular Katy Perry song, we should discuss the elephant in the room here: the new item shop rotation changes. In the past, when you wanted to buy a jam track, the Fortnite item shop had a little tab where you were essentially given the pick of the litter. Basically a smaller version of the Rock Band DLC shop, which makes sense seeing that Harmonix developed both games. But that all changed on March 20th. You see, that prior Tuesday, Epic tweeted out that week's jam tracks, same as they've always done every week prior. They consisted of the Katy Perry song mentioned earlier and a couple Paramore songs, which were to be released that Thursday. Again, same as always. But something happened. It is 8:06 p.m. on March 20th, 2025. We were supposed to get 2 new Paramore songs and a Katy Perry song in Festival. We don't have the Paramore songs. We got the Katy Perry one. That's its own thing. Like right here. We got the Katy Perry songs, but like if I go back here, it is not, they didn't put them in. Little did I know the hellstorm that was brewing in the background. Not only were the Paramore songs excluded from the shop, but it was a deliberate move to also exclude plenty of other jam tracks from being purchasable from Fortnite Festival. You see, Epic Games and their insatiable lust for your wallet have decided to intentionally reduce the jam track duration of availability in the item shop. If you want a song and you don't buy it the day that it's available, it could be removed the following day and you would have absolutely no clue when or if it would ever become available again. And Epic knows this. This is a business strategy that is often referred to as FOMO, or fear of missing out. Fortnite operates on a FOMO structure for its skins in the primary item shop. In the past, they've locked Battle Pass skins behind an exclusivity paywall, promising the rewards will never be seen outside of their respective season's pass, which is a practice that they're allegedly being sued over, hence why certain Festival Pass rewards from prior seasons are now purchasable in the shop. Here's the thing though, if you want to lock a skin behind an exclusive microtransaction, whatever. Nobody needs to look like a Star Wars character in order to have a similar gameplay experience to someone else. I think it's stupid, but if it's all cosmetic, it's not the end of the world. But jam tracks are not skins, they're gameplay. There are multiple unique playable charts in each of these jam tracks in several different game modes. They're not just 30-second shitposts you can whip out on a battle royale map after getting a squad wipe. So limiting the ability to purchase whatever song you'd like from the shop to around 30 maximum is the most baffling and anti-consumer move Epic could have possibly done for this game mode. If you see your friends playing a specific song and you want to start score chasing with them, you have to hope that song is one of the small handful that's available in the item shop, which chances are it won't be. As a direct result, this has led to multiple days where Hatsune Miku, the Season 7 icon for Fortnite Festival, had 0 songs purchasable or playable outside of her main bundle. That's beyond frustrating, borderline egregious, and nearly made me quit the game mode altogether. They've lost the plot, and a ton of well-deserved anger was immediately placed in their direction. If Epic's approach was truly to make a cheap, quick buck and monetize players who potentially put themselves into financial situations due to the fear that they might be excluded from their friend circles for missing out on paid DLC in a video game, then I'm sorry, Epic can get right the fuck out of the 5-fret rhythm scene. FOMO has absolutely no place in this community, and to put it simply, I have zero tolerance for thinly veiled scams that straight up don't need to exist. The old system worked fine, it was changed due to greed, pure and simple. In my opinion, nothing going forward can fully repair the goodwill they've destroyed from this nonsense. New Linkin Park songs, early 2000 bangers, I'm glad they're in the game, harmonics and rhythm authors did a great job as usual, but what's the point when they might not even be available 2 days from now? Do you understand how difficult it is to get newcomers into a game like Fortnite Festival when they're barricaded from playing the songs they want because, God forbid, they logged in on the wrong day? Video games are meant to be an outlet, not a fucking casino. That's what this is, a random chance experience for spending money out of fear that you might not be able to have the gameplay opportunity in the future. And the kick in the balls, we're still missing practice mode, and battle stage is still kinda terrible, so it's not even like they're supplementing new shop policies with highly in-demand features. Where the hell are pro drums? So yeah, that's the current state of Fortnite Festival. I'm so unbelievably mad that Epic Games decided to take this approach, locking genuine gameplay behind a wall of FOMO. If I can say anything positive about this change, I've had a ton of people hit me up asking for alternatives, and that's what's great about the 5-fret community. We really do have plenty of alternatives, and if Fortnite Festival is truly doing as financially poorly as Epic is letting on, it might be a good idea to start looking at what else is available. This is the first season in review video where I've had to rewrite the script multiple times to clearly get my thoughts out without it devolving into pure anger and frustration, and I will start referring to the game as FOMO Festival until the old policies are restored, or we're at least given proper communication by the dev team. And no, a series of 5 PR tweets is not what I consider proper communication. Epic, do better. But what do you guys think? Are you guys more optimistic for the future of Fortnite Festival than I am? Please let me know in the comments down below. I would love your thoughts. Until next time, this has been Danrock. Peace out and take care. Have you ever tried this one? This skin is ridiculous. Another season of Fortnite Festival is officially in the books, which means it's time for me to awaken from my slumber to record a video that you guys actually hopefully want to watch this time. This season's icon was Sabrina Carpenter, and yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. A lot of people have been positioning her as this generation's Taylor Swift, and I definitely see that. She's basically taken over the radio, and she's always trending on social media, so it makes a lot of sense that Fortnite would want to capitalize on her success. This is also the first season in a while that I haven't really seen a lot of naysayers complain about Sabrina as the icon, which is cool to see. Fortnite already had Espresso in the game as a playable jam track, so they went ahead and added a handful of more songs from Short and Sweet, along with a couple songs from her prior album. The charting for her songs on lead, pro lead, vocals, bass, and pro bass lean more on the easy side, but they are pretty fun. The standout here is Please Please Please. This is a really fun chart. With the exception of those, the rest of the charting this season has been fine, I guess. Nothing has really stuck out to me as a must-play chart, which is a little disappointing. I don't play a lot of drums, but I have heard the pad drum charts have been getting significantly worse every season, so that's fun. One of the biggest changes of this past season was overhauling the jam stage mode. Now, in the past, this has always been a game mode that flew under a lot of people's radars, which made sense. There wasn't really a ton to do here. However, the overhaul is pretty cool. Harmonix seemingly took all of the knowledge that they learned from making Fuser and applied it into Fortnite Festival's new Jam Stage mode, which honestly makes the game feel a lot better and more interesting. And I'm not even talking about Jam Stage in particular. You can bust out custom mashups in pretty much any game mode. Battle Royale, you can do it while waiting for a match in main stage. Doesn't matter, you can just make custom mashups whenever the hell you want, and I really do like that. Obviously, playing with your friends and managing to get a really cool sounding mashup just out of pure luck is still a great feeling, but being able to do it on your own with strategically placing when the drop beats would happen, that's still kind of fun. Can you tell that I miss Fuser? The other big gameplay overhaul this season was the concert. Now, Festival Icons having concerts is nothing new. It's something that they've been doing for quite a few seasons at this point. However, imagine my shock when they first showed off gameplay, and this gameplay may look familiar if you're of a certain age. Specifically if you have played the park simulation game Thrillville Off the Rails. Hang in there with me if you don't understand. I swear this will make sense in a second. Thrillville Off the Rails is a park simulation game where you're basically in charge of running a series of theme parks. You have to do the boring stuff like balancing a budget, buying advertisement space, allocating funds, etc. But it also lets you go hog wild designing roller coasters, placing flat rides, customizing basically everything, and hiring talent. Now, anyone that's been to a real theme park has likely seen these talented people singing and dancing in the streets to eat up capacity so the ride queues don't get backed up. That is the real reason that they're there. And that is no different in Thrillville Off the Rails. You can hire entertainers to dance in, that makes your park happier. Now I know what you're thinking, Danny, what the hell does this have to do with Fortnite? Well, look at the gameplay for the entertainer minigame in Thrillville Off the Rails and compare it to the Sabrina Carpenter dancing minigame in Fortnite. They're basically the exact same thing. To be clear, that is not a complaint. For those that don't know, Thrillville Off the Rails is one of my favorite video games ever made. I just find it really funny that from anywhere these devs could have taken inspiration from, they chose Thrillville. That makes me genuinely quite happy. Dance with Sabrina as a whole is a bit of a shallow experience, but it is a good way of earning XP. By far, the most important and coolest thing that happened this past season is that I got to shake hands with two of the most important rhythm game creators out there. I had the absolute privilege of meeting both a Wise Moose and 760 Creations in person. They were on their way to PAX East, yes, that's how long this season has been going, and they decided to stop in Connecticut to hang out. We had a lot of fun. I got to watch Jake surf with the Alien, Jake and JP were both mesmerized by a giant pretzel, and we ended the night by them signing my copy of Band Hero on Wii, which is unironically one of my favorite rhythm games ever made. Alice in Chains also had a medical emergency that night, but you're gonna have to listen to Lore Hero to find out about that one. Thank you guys so much for stopping by to meet me. It was genuinely really cool, and I hope you all had fun at PAX. But that is where the fun ends, ladies and gentlemen, because getting back to Fortnite Festival, what the hell do you want me to say at this point? Pretty much every single issue I had with the last season is still here in full force, with some more new issues rearing their heads. Every once in a while, Jason Paradise's sleep paralysis demons will make an appearance on the screen, because that's not terrifying at all. Battle Stage barely fucking works anymore. It took me almost 5 full minutes to find a match. And when I did find the match, the scoring system was so broken that out of frickin' nowhere, my score got dropped 1,000 points below second place, and second place became first place when the song had already ended. How does that even happen? And of course, say it with me now, Where's the practice mode? Yeah, thank you. It is still missing. I genuinely would love to practice this game's version of Freebird, but nope. It's almost like Harmonix and Epic Games are just allergic to communication, because I would love to be told, hey, this is what the roadmap looks like, these are when we can expect these updates, but instead, we just find out when they happen, and that's not very often. Allegedly, behind the scenes, they've been going through and adding pro vocal charts to a bunch of previous songs. Now, a lot of people are getting very excited about this feature and thinking, hey, maybe they'll introduce pro vocals as a playable instrument, which would work great in this day and age because every modern console has a microphone either built onto the controller or the console itself. However, I'm not getting my hopes up because every single file in the game has had a pro drums chart baked into it, and we still don't have pro drums, so will we ever end up actually getting pro vocals? Like, I'm genuinely curious if this is ever going to actually be a thing. I mean, I'm curious if any engine tweaks or game upgrades will even happen, because this is far from being the best rhythm game engine out there. As a matter of fact, you may have noticed I've been playing almost exclusively pad charts for the season, and there is a reason for that. I went back to Rock Band 3 Deluxe recently, and going from that back to Fortnite Festival is like going from driving a Bugatti to driving a rusting CRV with failing spark plugs, misaligned wheels, and half of the windows missing. Every single time I tried to play a Pro League chart this season, it just made me wish I was playing literally any other 5-fret game. And that's why I pretty much stuck to the pad charts. And of course, that ugly FOMO issue from last season has obviously stuck around. So yeah, it's pretty clear Fortnite Festival still has a long way to go. I just wasn't expecting the word still to be in that sentence, considering the fact that it has been well over a year and a half and we still are missing basic features that early Rock Band and Guitar Hero games both had. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever, I'm basically yelling at a brick wall. If you Google Fortnite Festival and go to the videos tab, you are guaranteed to find at least one of my videos bitching about Epic Games, so they definitely hear the criticism. It's just frustrating that they aren't doing anything to correct it. So honestly, why should I give a shit anymore? Why should you give a shit anymore? The game is still fun, but it's got so many problems that it just genuinely makes you wish you were playing something else. And that is exactly why I have been playing something else. When Fortnite Festival adds in features that I've been begging for the last year and a half, maybe I'll switch back to this game full time, but until then, I'm sorry, I guess I'll just stick with the pad charts. No amount of deadmau5 is gonna undo bad decisions. But what did you guys think about this past season? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, this has been Dan Rock. Peace out, take care, and rock on. Man, I've always wanted the opportunity to play as Bruno Mars in Fortnite. I'm so glad Festival finally gave me the chance to do so. Also, I was in a coma on this date and time. We're 10 seasons into Festival, which is terrifying. For those new here, I like to start off talking about the good things the season introduced before pivoting to the bad things. So the Power Rangers theme was charted really well and is really fun to play. The Baby Metal and Yozobi songs are pretty good. Now on to the bad stuff! Although I'm being slightly sarcastic here, it definitely feels like Epic has officially abandoned all hope for Fortnite Festival. And that is evident in the icon. Now, I have absolutely nothing against Bruno Mars. He makes catchy music, I have no personal gripes with him whatsoever. It's cool that he's in the game. For the second time. Yeah, Bruno Mars was already in Fortnite, so the fact that he's a festival icon and has 2 different skins again sets a really dangerous precedent for the future of this game mode, if there even is one. What's next? Is The Weeknd gonna have yet another new skin and be the icon a second time? In Bruno's defense, his songs are charted decently. Opt is really fun, Die With A Smile is a great chart. I have no problem whatsoever with Bruno's song inclusions in Fortnite. I'm just salty that they chose an icon that was already in the damn game. It's also strange that they keep going from pop artist to pop artist when in the early seasons of Fortnite Festival they would change up the genre quite a bit. It's almost as if Epic wanted to do an EDM season, as both deadmau5 and Skrillex have songs this season and they're actually charted very well. I'm playing Wub Wubs on a plastic guitar. Again. Why do your memories haunt me so often? While we're on the topic of songs, the charting has been decent this season, I suppose. I still do have my gripes with some of the pro lead charts, and obviously the drum charts still have their haters. My main problem with the songs is that I wish I didn't have to buy the Lego Battle Pass in order to get a couple of them, and even play fucking Rocket League to unlock one of the deadmau5 songs. Like, that shit's a conflict of interest. I don't even like that game. I shouldn't have to play a completely unrelated title in order to unlock a song in Fortnite. That's ridiculous. The elephant in the room problem here is that we've been getting smaller and smaller pools of songs per week in Fortnite Festival, which sucks. This time last year, we were getting anywhere between 3 and 5 new songs every rotation, so it's unbelievable that we're down to 1 nowadays. Epic doesn't want you to think about that though, because they like to advertise that 4 new songs are being added in a certain week, but what they're actually doing is recycling songs from old festival passes that not everyone got to play if they didn't buy the pass or have crew for that month. In my case, as someone who buys nearly every festival pass because I want to support the game, I end up getting spat on and only offered 1 new song while everyone else gets to enjoy a couple of new songs. We live in a weird time where the biggest supporters of a game mode are the ones that get dicked down the hardest. The biggest problem here obviously is the lack of communication. If Epic were to come out and tell us the reason why there were less jam tracks, or telling us if more jam tracks would be in the pipeline, we wouldn't be left to assume the absolute worst and think the game mode is basically dying or Epic cut its budget by a crap ton. Every time I talk about how bad the communication is with Epic Games, I get hit with a bunch of people that say stuff like, "Oh, first time? You must be new here," as if that justifies a terrible communication strategy. We're paying for these damn songs, just be upfront with us. Tell us if there were licensing deals that were falling through, tell us if there were unexpected delays. Even if you don't go into detail, which you really can't when it comes to legal stuff, if you're at least upfront with your audience just a bit, we would be a bit more understanding as opposed to just throwing crap at the wall and assuming what sticks is what's actually happening. Because from an outsider looking in, it looks like this game mode is being abandoned, and the lack of upkeep certainly isn't helping things. Let's see, returning bugs. The all-time leaderboard is still broken, check. The disappearing instrument bug is back in full force, and it's even uglier than before as it directly affects you and not your bandmates. That's fun. There's a new bug where the incorrect album art will show on certain songs. I'm sure the artists and rights holders are thrilled about this one. And by far the worst bug I've ever encountered, frame pacing issues on the PC version of Fortnite Festival, where songs will just randomly freeze and none of your inputs during that time will count. This is perhaps the worst possible glitch that you can have happen to a rhythm game, where the notes don't work. And before anyone assumes that it's my computer, I can run any other AAA game perfectly fine. This is a problem that is only in Fortnite, and for the most part only in Festival. This doesn't really affect me in BR at all. And it only started when the new season of Fortnite Festival started. This didn't affect me at all in the prior season, so yeah, I'm gonna chalk this up to a Fortnite Festival bug. Battle Stage is such a ghost town, I wasn't able to find a single working match to record for this video. They expect us to pay $5 for a fucking 59-second song. And to top it off, would you like to know what one of the one song weeks was? Funny Song. What's Funny Song? Have you ever watched a TikTok? Yeah, fuck this. 10 seasons of Fortnite Festival, 2 years and 9 full videos on my channel dedicated to talking about it. Now I understand that a lot of you have come to the conclusion that I genuinely don't like this game mode, and I find enjoyment in looking for issues and reporting on them in my retrospectives. But I assure you that's not the case. When I run into a major snafu in a new season of Festival, I don't immediately crack my knuckles, grab a pen and paper to jot it down so I can rip Epic a new one. No, I get upset and I wonder why it's happening. I don't see Fortnite Festival as a laughingstock despite how these videos come across. I'm so harsh on the gameplay and charts because I've seen the studio behind this do great things. Playing Fortnite Festival and seeing the current state of Harmonix's development is like visiting a dying elderly relative in the hospital. It sucks. Especially when you consider the legacy that this company has left behind. You have to remember, like a lot of the community, I've been playing highway rhythm games since 2005 when Harmonix invented the genre. Have I been critical of Festival's decisions? Absolutely, but I'm not doing it out of spite. I don't want to see Festival fail and crumble to ash. I don't want to boycott and see it fail monetarily either, and I especially don't want to see creative people who are only hindered by Epic's lack of vision lose their job due to corporate greed and a fundamental misunderstanding on rhythm-based gameplay on the part of the higher-ups. No, I want to see it become the best possible rhythm game that it can be. I wanted it to become something resembling Rock Band 5, and the fact that Epic clearly sees no future vision for this game mode bums the hell out of me. I could do my whole song and dance about how there's no practice mode and how there have been no major gameplay additions in literal seasons, but it doesn't matter. They've had the opportunity to introduce these features that we've been begging for the past year and a half at this point. They just don't. Epic likely sees Festival as a commercial failure because it's not cranking out hundreds of millions of dollars like the main BR system is, which is the most asinine way to look at it, because Fortnite Festival was never going to be as profitable as the main BR system was, because not everyone that buys a jam track immediately runs over to Festival to play it on the highway. It gives Epic the indication that nobody wants to play Festival, which sucks. If you would have told me when this game mode first came out and I made my first ever video on it that 10 seasons in I would be this negative about a gameplay style that I genuinely love and have adored for the last 20 years, I probably wouldn't believe you. I don't personally see Festival as a lost cause, despite what Epic thinks. They could still do some genuinely really cool stuff with the game mode, especially with it being inside of Fortnite. Whether or not they'll give the developers the opportunity to do so is a completely different story. I mean, the fact that they're going to split up the gorillas between the Festival Pass and sell you the other two members in the store, despite the fact that they gave you all of Metallica in one Festival Pass, tells you everything you need to know about Epic's current prerogative with Fortnite Festival. Their stance on this game mode has changed, and it's certainly not for the better. If I can give one small silver lining to this, Festival is soon going to have some very strong competition. If you haven't heard, Red Octane is back together, and they're developing a brand new Guitar Hero / Rock Band style game with the best in the business. All 4 members of Lore Hero, members of the YARG development staff, as well as old school Red Octane employees from back in the day. Competition is a fantastic thing, and if this doesn't light a fire under Epic's ass to improve the state of Festival, nothing will. Despite everything I've said about the state of Fortnite Festival in this past video, I do remain optimistic for both this game as well as the scene in general. Even if it's not through Epic's volition, thanks to the new Red Octane as well as tons of fan projects, I think we're gonna be just fine. This has been DanRock. Peace out and take care. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our festival headliners. It's one of them. 11 seasons into Fortnite Festival, into a potentially very uncertain time for the game mode. For the seasonal icons, we had the gorillas, and like I said in the last video, I'm still annoyed that Russell and Murdoch were Festival Pass exclusives, while 2D and Noodle were shop exclusives. If all 4 Metallica members were available both through the Festival Pass as well as the shop, then what aside from greed was stopping Epic from doing the same here? Additionally, we were only given 3 new jam tracks by the gorillas, being On Melancholy Hill, Dare, and Clint Eastwood. All very solid choices, but shockingly few considering the fact that they're the icons, but whatever, I guess. As always, let's take some time to talk about some of the positive changes made to the game, and I genuinely do have a lot to say. For the first time, players now have a clear good indicator in the UI along with the existing perfect indicator. This was done to help players better understand when their timing is slightly off, which can hypothetically make calibration a little easier. Additionally, the developers made visual adjustments to the glyph notes, making them easier to figure out how to play. I'm not personally a fan of this. I think glyph notes were obvious enough after playing a few songs, and this makes them look a little too close to the Pro Lead sustain, which is played differently. Thankfully, players can toggle back to the classic design and settings if they prefer. Another major improvement was the main stage music library receiving the ability for players to sort songs by both song duration and song intensity. This should have been in the game since day one. I genuinely have no idea what took them so long. Speaking of UI overhauls, the menu for Festival got switched up a bit, allowing for different tabs to show the different instrument options for Battle Stage, and now a new setlist system for Main Stage. Again, I don't know why this took them 10 seasons to implement, but it is here, and it is a welcome change. As for glitches, the disappearing instrument bug hasn't reappeared for me this season, but I'm still having performance issues causing lag spikes, specifically in the PC version of Festival. I've tried everything you can think of, updating and rolling back my graphics card drivers, a clean install of the game, no dice, they still happen. I'm going to be building a new PC in the coming days for unrelated reasons, and if these problems continue to happen with an entirely new build, I will let you guys know. By far, the best part of the rhythm side of Fortnite recently was the Daft Punk experience. They market it as an experience like no other, and yeah, I agree, this was really cool. It's an incredible love letter to fans of Daft Punk, who are arguably the most influential EDM artists ever. The experience consists of Robot Rock Arena, a game where you shoot robots who move to the beat of various Daft Punk songs, Dream Chamber Studios, an area which allows players to mash up over 30 different Daft Punk songs in the style of Fuser. It's basically Jam Stage on steroids. Around the World, which is a LEGO Fortnite minigame where you can build new elements of the environment. Daft Club, where you can dance around and listen to some jams from random access memories. And my favorite, the Alive 2007 section. This is a recreation of Daft Punk's Alive 2007 performance at the Paris Omnisports Arena, or at least that's what I'm calling it because I cannot pronounce French. There's tons of extra visual effects and it's super trippy. This is best experienced with the proper home theater audio system. The music is wicked high quality, and also it has nothing to do with the gorillas! Did Damon Albarn just piss off somebody from Epic Games? Why did Fortnite just straight up forget about their actual season headliners? Now, I'm a big Daft Punk fan, so I'm not trying to sound ungrateful for the experience. I'm just confused as to why this happened now. Actually, Festival as a whole has kind of taken a backseat since the Daft Punk experience happened. The Daft Punk Jam Track trailer didn't show any main stage festival footage whatsoever, and aside from the updates that I talked about earlier, which mostly all happened at the beginning of the season, there hasn't really been a ton of attention directed towards Festival recently. Most alarmingly, there's not even going to be a celebrity headliner for the next season, which is bizarre. You'd think the Daft Punk stuff would have made a great festival season. Have the experience play the role of a seasonal concert, which Gorillaz never got by the way, in addition to the TB3 and GM08 skins they offered in Jam Tracks. Why wasn't this the concept for the next season? A few casual players that I've played with recently that don't play a lot of Festival actually think that Daft Punk are the current seasonal icons, and as a result, I feel like that's given Fortnite Festival a bit of an identity crisis, especially with the lack of a proper icon next time. Hell, with Huntrix being the damn loading screen, some people may get confused that even they're the new Festival icons. Aside from that, I really don't have much to say. Festival is indeed in a better spot gameplay-wise than it was a month ago, but while there have been some decent UI changes, stuff like pro vocals have still yet to materialize, as only around 50% of the current songs are rumored to have lyrics built into them. And speaking of a game where you actually sing lyrics, I have some unfortunate news regarding Epic Games and Harmonix. Before Harmonix was purchased by Epic Games to work specifically on Fortnite Festival, they were a company that were known for making some pretty kick-ass rhythm games back in the day. Frequency, Amplitude, Karaoke Revolution, and of course most famously both Guitar Hero and Rock Band. And unfortunately, as of the day that I'm recording this voiceover, Harmonix and Epic Games have delisted Rock Band 4 from sale on both the Xbox and PlayStation platforms, which were unfortunately the only two places Rock Band 4 was up for sale digitally. Now you can still buy a physical copy, although I would recommend doing that sooner than later, as physical copy prices will probably start going through the roof in T-minus 10 seconds. But I did want to bring this up as you still technically do have another option if Fortnite Festival isn't quite scratching the rhythm game itch that you want to scratch, unless you have an all-digital console, in which case, I'm sorry. The writing was on the wall. Not too long after Fortnite Festival had popped off in popularity, Rock Band 4 was permanently decreased to $10, including the rival expansion. I bring this up as an Epic Games decision, despite the fact that Harmonix were the developers of Rock Band 4, as Harmonix is now owned by Epic Games, who just probably weren't feeling up to relicensing the songs for another 10 years. It's understandable, but it does suck, and I wish we had more than a few days' notice to buy the game and whatever DLC songs we want before they started getting delisted. This unfortunately does limit your other options aside from Fortnite Festival if you only play on current generation consoles. This does not limit your options if you play on PC, as stuff like Yarg, as shown off by Alec on Ludwig's stream, shout out, definitely fills the hole that Rock Band 4 has left behind that Fortnite Festival, in my opinion, isn't quite up to snuff with yet. If you really like the gameplay of Fortnite Festival and you want a better version of it and you don't own a PC, I would recommend picking up a cheap small form factor PC off of Amazon, or perhaps one of those neat little mini PCs, which are basically just rearranged laptop internals. Something so that way you could play Yarg on a big screen television, or Clone Hero or World Tour Definitive, whatever you feel like. You could even mod a legacy console and get the deluxe games working on there. It's just important to have a fallback, because Fortnite being an always online game doesn't necessarily mean we're always going to have access to it. And not for nothing, I do think a lot of the fan projects out there do deliver a far better experience than Fortnite Festival does, and you can play them for under $150. Anyway, sorry to end this video on such a dour note, but I did want to give out that little public service announcement. I am very interested to see what direction Fortnite Festival takes for the next season, with it not having a proper headliner. Hopefully them delisting Rock Band 4 is a bit of a sign that they want to start focusing more on Festival, and between that and the various quality of life improvements that I detailed earlier, Fortnite Festival is on the up and up, and we can finally have a positive season for the first time in a long time. Anyway, what did you guys think about this past season of Fortnite Festival, and what do you think about the future? This has been Dan Rock. Peace out and take care. Hey, you know what'd be cool? Some lesser known indie artists in Festival. That's That's not what I meant. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its 12th season in its official second year anniversary. It's insane, it doesn't feel like it's already been 2 years, but yeah, here we are. This season, Epic decided to give us a headliner-less festival, which is definitely a new idea. I don't think you'd be able to sell out an actual festival if your headliner was just completely empty at the top of your poster. Imagine that for Coachella. All jokes aside, I am okay with them not having a celebrity headliner if it means that money is going to go into the actual jam tracks this season. Money did not go into the actual jam tracks this season. Multiple weeks of no new jam tracks. Now, we know the reason why. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with both the Tyler the Creator collab, and I have no doubt the festival team has been busy behind the scenes working on pro vocals as that number is slowly going up, but once again, we are left completely in the dark with no communication from the actual developers as to what the hell is going on here. This, of course, leads to a lot of people doom posting and thinking that the game mode is dying, along with the player number slowly decreasing. Once again, I feel like this is the 8th season I've said this in a row. A little communication goes a long way, Epic. Let your festival team talk about what's going on behind the scenes. The most interesting thing that happened with Festival this season is that we had a bit of a change up with the venue. Originally, it started as the same Gorillaz venue as before, but with tentacles and thorns everywhere because Fortnitemares. But halfway through the season, they decided to change the venue into something a little bit more bespoke. But that's basically the only major change I can think about off the top of my head. Needless to say, Fortnite Festival is not in a great spot right now, so how do we fix it? I asked on both my Twitter as well as my YouTube community tab what you guys would like to see for the future of the game mode to hopefully get some more eyes on it and make it a little bit more fun. Thank you to everyone who submitted an answer for this. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to fit everyone's answer in as I got over 150 of them, but I'm going to fit as many as I can. Now these aren't going to be in any particular order, but I will be saving the most requested feature for last. Two heavily requested features are pro drums and pro vocals to go along with the pro lead and pro bass. Now these will likely play similar to the Rock Band and Karaoke Revolution counterparts that came before them. I think pro vocals are actively being worked on. Every once in a while a festival leaker will show off that a certain percentage of songs now support pro vocals, but I can't confirm that because Epic's communication when it comes to festival is dog shit. Now pro drums on the other hand, those have been finished and playable since day one. They're just not playable inside of festival, which makes no sense to me. All it would take is a single graphic to be made and a couple lines of code to enable something that's already in every single MIDI in the game. Maybe they were waiting on new drum peripherals to come out, but they advertised that pro lead and pro bass were compatible with Rock Band 4 instruments, so surely they could have made pro drums compatible with Rock Band 4 drums. Either way, Cracked is releasing a new drum set next year and it looks really cool, so honestly, if they don't enable it when the new drum set comes out, that would be a huge missed opportunity, and while it wouldn't surprise me, it would be genuinely really sad, so hopefully they do enable that when the drum set comes out. Another gameplay feature that people have asked for is a better calibration menu, which makes a lot of sense. Harmonix is working on this game, and Rock Band 2 through 4 had auto calibration, where all you had to do was hold up your guitar to the TV and speaker, and it would use a light sensor as well as a microphone to auto calibrate to your system perfectly, no problems whatsoever. Now in the space year of 2025, almost 2026 when I'm recording this, we all have smartphones in our pockets that also have cameras and microphones on them. Why hasn't Epic made a companion app so that way we can auto calibrate our system using equipment that we already have? Or hell, let us use our Rock Band 4 instruments to auto-calibrate inside a Fortnite Festival. It makes no sense, especially considering the fact that unlike Rock Band, Fortnite Festival actually judges you depending on your timing, not just if you hit the note or not, so you really do need perfect calibration. At the very least, they should let us choose between the old calibration system and the new one, so people that don't jive with the new system can go back to the old one, or vice versa. Another feature that a lot of people have asked for is the ability to pause the game, which I didn't even think about until now. But that brings up a good point. We should be able to pause the game. It's a single player experience unless we're playing online. Why can't we pause in the middle of the Master of Puppets solo if we need to go take a piss? What's going on? We could do that in all the prior Rock Band and Guitar Hero games. A couple people have also asked for an overhauled battle mode, and that's something I agree with wholeheartedly. The one that's currently in game is half-baked to say the least. I was expecting something similar to Guitar Hero 3's battle mode, which is the gold standard and came out almost 20 years ago. Instead, they decided to give us a single power-up to launch at other players and gave us zero reason to return to the game mode after winning only a couple matches. It would be pretty easy to fix battle mode. All they have to do is add a couple more power-ups and make it ranked. Hell, add ranked to main stage as well. Plenty of people have asked for it. It probably wouldn't take very many resources to add. I also wish it was playable locally, where you can face off against another person sitting beside you on the couch. Why not? Is that really that big of an ask? And if not battle mode, why not pro face-off? They figured that out 20 years ago. You're telling me they can't put it in the cutting-edge Fortnite game? Speaking of something they figured out years ago and is still absent from Fortnite Festival, why can't people see their opponents or their teammates' highways when they play online? Yeah, it shouldn't be mandatory, make it a toggleable option, but plenty of people would love to see it, and I would as well. A lot of my friends that have gotten into festivals specifically because of Fortnite as opposed to Rock Band or Guitar Hero aren't super well versed in the gameplay styles from the previous Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. As a result, when I try to explain something like a hammer-on or a pull-off to them, they might not understand it, and if I can't see their chart, I can't point at it and be like, hey, that was a hammer-on or that was a pull-off. I don't know what they're looking at if they're playing on a lower difficulty than I am. By far, some of the most common complaints that I've gotten over the last 2 years is the lack of customization when it comes to Fortnite Festival specifically. Guitar Hero and Rock Band were both very open, letting you select your bandmates, which is a very heavily requested feature. Yeah, they kinda made it so your favorited skins show up next to yours, but you can't control which one's up here, and if you have the exact same skin as your self-favorited, congratulations, you are seeing double. This could be very easily remedied with a simple band loadout screen or being able to just select your band members before you load into the game. I don't understand why this isn't an option. And if you're not going to do that, can you at least put a changing booth backstage? It was there a couple seasons ago and now it's shockingly MIA, so you have to go out to the main menu to change your skin. And while we're at it, why can't I select a venue? This one makes no sense to me because Epic has already gone through the effort of modeling and texturing every single past venue in the game. All they have to do is make them freely selectable. Every past Guitar Hero and Rock Band had a venue select. Looking at the same stage over and over gets very, very stale. I remember playing the Carol G season and getting so fucking bored at what was in the background because it was the exact same venue for like 2.5 months. We know the venue data is still in the game because you can go back and play past concerts if you remember the island code, so it's clearly not a licensing thing. Why can't we at the very least randomize it? When it comes to positive visual changes, by far one of the most requested features that they could add very easily are additional animations, just to make them slightly more lively than they currently are. It's so sad when you go back to play literally any past Guitar Hero or Rock Band game, and they're so much more lively than they are in Fortnite Festival. When I started playing this game mode, I assumed that the Fortnite Festival animations were basically placeholders. They were meant to be stale to give sort of a proof of concept for what they were working on. And of course, 2 years later, the animations look almost identical to how they looked when the game mode launched. Of course, we would all love them to roll back the FOMO changes that they made a couple seasons ago and give us actual incentive to play, as well as make the jam tracks a little bit cheaper because $5 a song is a bit steep. Yes, I know the original Rock Band songs were cheap by comparison, with them only costing $2 back in the day, but Rock Band was a completely offline experience and Fortnite Festival requires a server connection. One day, all of the songs that you've bought in this game will no longer be playable, but I can still happily go back and play all of the Band Hero DLC that I bought back in 2010. The game either needs an offline mode or the jam tracks need to be cheaper, one of the two. Especially with certain jam tracks only being 54 seconds long. What the fuck? My biggest complaint with Fortnite Festival the last couple of seasons, and it has been echoed in a couple of comments, is the performance on PC. I got a new PC with a 5070 Ti and an Intel Ultra 7, and I still, for some reason, get occasional frame dips. It's fucking ridiculous. Why does the Nintendo Switch 2 version run smoother than the PC that is around 20 times more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2? I genuinely don't get that. Bar none, the most requested feature is something you probably predicted a long time ago. Practice mode. Everyone and their mother wants practice mode, and yeah, this is something that I have complained about pretty much every single season since the game mode came out. Why doesn't it exist? Epic Games prides themselves on putting harder and harder charts in the game all the time, such as Magical Cure Love Shot, Beyond the Flame, Through the Fire and Flames, Freebird, but we have no way of practicing them. You'd choke in Solo Sea of Flames? Congratulations, you're going all the way back to the beginning of the song, and you're gonna like it. Unacceptable. I don't understand how every single past 5-fret rhythm game had a practice mode, but Fortnite Festival still doesn't. We're at the point where Rock Band 4 introduced its practice mode before Fortnite Festival has. That's just sad. The final comment I will show you is something that summarizes the entirety of my feelings towards Fortnite Festival. Take Rock Band 3 Deluxe and take all of those features. I just need to ask, why? Why have Harmonix and Epic Games let themselves fall into second place behind the people that mod their own games? Modders that do this in their free time. Modders that aren't being paid salary paychecks to get this work done. And I can say with an incredibly high degree of certainty that the quality output done by people like MiloHacks, the World Tour Definitive devs, NeverHacks, among everyone else in the scene, has eclipsed the work done by Fortnite Festival's development staff tenfold. Not just in the amount of new features that have been added to those projects, but the quality output of those projects in general. And beyond modders, fan game devs are also pushing the envelope of what's possible. We now have fully animated 3D bands inside of Yarg, on top of features like Pro Drums and Pro Vocals, which people are still waiting to be added to Fortnite Festival. I've always said that Yarg is a genuine substitute for Fortnite Festival, and at this point it's looking more and more like the better option. And with a new official release from Red Octane Games on the horizon, which is likely going to steal most of Festival's official thunder on consoles, Epic Games has to start thinking about what they can do to get longtime players back into the swing of things playing their game. Because right now, I have no incentive to play Fortnite Festival outside of earning XP for Fortnite. And if I didn't play Fortnite as it was, I probably wouldn't play Festival at all anymore. Anyway, were there any features that I missed that you guys would love to see added to Fortnite Festival? Leave a comment down below. Until next time, this has been DanRock. Peace out, take care, and rock on.
The season started with the 6-7 joke. I don't think I can do anything to make that better. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its 13th season, so let's get into it. I apologize if my voice sounds like I've been gurgling a Dixie cup full of toenail clippings. I've unfortunately been sick. But no matter how poor my bill of health is, it's still probably better than the current state of Fortnite Festival is anyway, so let's just jump right in. The headliner for this season is Lisa, and I'm expecting a lot of people are probably going to want me to jump down Epic's throat for choosing another quote-unquote nobody headliner. However, I actually knew who Lisa was. How couldn't I? She's 25% of one of the biggest K-pop groups on earth, Blackpink, and they're a group who I've gone on record saying I've liked in the past. Although I've never heard her solo stuff until now, and I gotta say, it's actually pretty good. I can definitely hear where a lot of Blackpink's influence came from, especially when it came to the rap-heavy songs. Unfortunately, when it comes to gameplay, there's not really a ton going on in the instrumentals for the charts, leading to some incredibly boring charts for Pro Lead and Pro Bass. Rockstar's not terrible, but Fuck Up the World is probably the most brain-dead easy song in the entire game at this point. I know a lot of people return to new festival seasons for a bit of a challenge, and unfortunately you're not going to find much of that here. Again, keep in mind that's nothing to say of the quality of the songs themselves. The songs themselves are good. There's just not a ton going on in the instrumental department for the festival team to chart, which leads to some fairly uninspired Pro Lead and Pro Bass charts in the game. Speaking of gameplay, there have been some notable gameplay changes this time around. For example, you can now listen to your jam tracks as music in standard battle royale matches, which is cool. I'd love to see more uses for these things considering how expensive they are. And speaking of jam tracks, allegedly the jam stage and party royale modes are going to be combined, so goodbye jam stage in its entirety, I suppose. I can't say I'm gonna miss it too much. It is a fun mode to dick around with friends, but you can basically make mashups anywhere now. It's kind of pointless to have a dedicated spot for it. In terms of main stage gameplay changes, there has been a note streak counter added to the left of the screen, which is kind of nice, I suppose. It's a feature that I've been waiting for the last 2 years, and it has been in pretty much every Guitar Hero from Guitar Hero 3 onward, so it was another feature that I was expecting them to add a lot sooner than they did, but hey, it's welcome regardless. Now, I wasn't expecting to say this, but they actually fixed the worst bug in Fortnite Festival this season. If you recall, last August, I reported on a bug with frame pacing issues on the PC version, where you would randomly get freezes and none of your inputs would register. This bug has been present in the game since August of last year, and while it is mostly random, this past season it actually occurred to me twice in a row quite a few times, which is not ideal. I genuinely never thought they would fix it. However, this past January, they actually put up a forum post asking for people to document it, and to my absolute delight, it doesn't happen anymore, at least not on my computer. I know everyone loves it when I throw shit at the festival team, but I gotta call a spade a spade. This was a really cool bug to see fixed. It sucks it took 6 months for it to get fixed, but hey, you know what? Baby steps. And speaking of something that's been in the works for a while, we appear to be getting pro vocals at some point this season. I'm going to explain a little bit about how that works and what that means. Unfortunately, I don't have access to pro vocals in Festival yet at the time of this recording, so I'm going to be showing off Rock Band footage, as that's probably going to be the closest approximation to how it'll work in game. You're going to need a microphone first and foremost. Most controllers nowadays have them built in. However, if not, you can just use any standard USB mic. Essentially, it's your job to match the pitch on the actual song, kind of like karaoke, but it scores you depending on how off you are. If you're tone deaf, you might struggle a little bit with this. However, if you've got any sense of being able to match pitch even in the slightest, you're probably going to do just fine in this game mode. I'm by no means a vocalist whatsoever, however I find myself doing just fine on vocal charts for Rock Band, so I'm assuming they're probably going to be using the same scoring system in Festival, which I'm definitely fine with, and it's awesome we're going to have 3/4 of the plastic instrument band filled out by the end of the season. All we're going to be missing is pro drums, which Cracked seems to have us covered with. Oh, by the way, I haven't scripted this, so this is probably going to sound a little stilted and awkward, but I actually have a Cracked affiliate code now, so if you want to buy like a guitar or anything from their website, or the drums when they come out or whatever, if you use code DanRock at checkout, you'll save 5% off your order, and they pay me a little bit of money for people that use my code, so by no means mandatory. I don't want to make anyone feel like they have to do that. Regardless, thank you to you guys for listening to this part, and thank you for Cracked for giving me the opportunity. Anyway, back to Festival. Next season's headliner appears to be Chapel Roan. If pro vocals really are implemented this season, it's going to be fantastic, destroying my vocal cords to sing Pink Pony Club in its proper pitch. I can't wait to do that. Now, while I may sound cautiously optimistic for pro vocals and the eventual pro drum update when that inevitably drops, I need to stress that I am still very disappointed that the game has taken this long for these changes to have been added in the first place, especially considering the fact that there have been so many fan projects over the last couple of years that are free to play, much better alternatives to Fortnite Festival. And their biggest competitor with Red Octane Games is coming soon, so they gotta start getting their asses into gear. Frustratingly, whenever I mention any of these free-to-play alternatives or soon-paid alternatives, there's always a couple smartasses in the comments that jump in saying that nobody is leaving Fortnite Festival and that I'm wasting my breath even mentioning these, but I could actually disprove that. Around this time last year, I published a video called The Best Way to Play Guitar Hero in 2025, and I've actually gotten quite a few comments on it that say something along the lines of they were introduced to the Guitar Hero formula thanks to Fortnite Festival, but have since left and gone to other projects because they're looking to get away from the Fortnite ecosystem. Fortnite Festival isn't doing enough to keep people engaged, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people have left and the game mode's numbers have dwindled over the years. Will these new pro instrument updates do anything to help the player base and get returning players back into Fortnite Festival? Who can say? Anyway, I think that's it. I apologize for the shorter video this time around. There really just hasn't been a ton of changes this season. I'm gonna go take some NyQuil. This is DanRock. Peace out and take care. Let's just get into it. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its 14th season, and this time around we had Chapel Roan as the seasonal icon. I don't know much about Chapel Roan as a person, but she has written some pretty catchy songs throughout her career, so it makes sense to see her as a Fortnite Festival headliner. Her songs are charted decently, but can I just be honest for a second? I'm getting a little tired of pop artists being the festival icon. I understand why they are. They have the most radio play, and they're the most popular musicians nowadays. But I do miss when Festival had a bit more variety. We're getting to the point where nearly 50% of the headliners are pop singers, and I think that's kind of lame. I'm not trying to say that these people don't deserve to be in Fortnite Festival, but I do wish the game had a little bit more variety as it did in the earlier seasons. What's more, we're also starting to lose our weekly song drops more than ever. I know that this has been an ongoing issue for the last couple of seasons where we aren't getting new songs every week anymore. However, it's really starting to sting nowadays. It's certainly not helping with the game feeling stale and rehashing the same genres when instead of new songs, we're basically told, hey, play a bunch of old ones, or hey, here's some unvaulted festival pass songs. Like, thanks, I guess, but I already had access to all of these. I've bought almost every single festival pass, either through crew or just buying it outright. I've said this before and I've gotten shit for it, but I genuinely think it would be smart to reward the players that have financially supported this game mode, as opposed to constantly rehashing old songs that these supporters already have. Now, I'm not trying to gatekeep here. I think Festival Pass exclusive songs are dumb and they should be in the store after the season ends. You're already getting a discount by buying the Festival Pass to begin with. But when all we're seeing for weeks on end are unvaulted Festival Pass songs and nothing else, it doesn't inspire a lot of hope for the future of this game mode. Now, what does inspire hope for the future of this game mode are a couple of very big changes that have happened throughout this last season that honestly caught me by surprise. First and foremost, drums are actually being playtested right now, both with and without cymbals, along with pro vocals, which is basically going to be the new karaoke mode. I talked about this in the last season video and I incorrectly predicted that it would be released this season. I don't know why Epic's been dragging their feet so long with this, but it's cool to finally see vocal support for every single song in the game that has vocals. If there's anything that could potentially save Festival from an early grave, it'll be this karaoke mode. Seriously, you underestimate the people that want a karaoke mode. There will certainly be very entertaining Twitch streams after this mode drops, and I'm looking forward to seeing highlight clips posted everywhere. The other thing that caught me by surprise is the complete overhaul of Fortnite Festival's mobile mode. Yeah, you can just simply tap the notes on the screen with your fingers. You don't have to map it so that way it works with a controller anymore. It actually feels pretty good to play. I will say though, it did launch at quite a rocky state. The very first day I attempted to play it, I had this awful flickering bug that basically consumed every single song, and it made it very, very difficult to focus, and I'm sure could cause some epilepsy problems, but I will give the Fortnite Festival devs credit, they did fix it pretty quickly, at least on my device. I'm genuinely really happy to see this mode come out. Any other way of using jam tracks aside from plastic instruments in jam loops or playing on pad is just really cool, and it's more value for your money. Despite how much I absolutely fucking suck at tapping the screen to the rhythm. For some reason, just doing it on a plastic guitar just feels better to me. Now, unfortunately, I have seen the return of a bit of stuttering on main stage PC, although not enough to the point where I was able to capture gameplay of it, so to me, it's not as much of an issue. I cannot say the same for everyone else, though. There were a lot of comments that corrected me, rightfully so, that apparently the PS4 and Switch 1 versions of this game have awful stuttering issues as well. I don't play on either of those platforms, so I cannot personally comment. However, I would like to see this issue fixed for the people that are playing on those platforms. It's a rhythm game. You really shouldn't be dealing with stuttering and lag. Now, unfortunately, that's not the only issue to report on, and I do have something that is far bigger and far more frustrating to talk about. You may have seen it on the news. Basically, Epic Games decided to let go over 1,000 staff members, specifically ones that were working on Rocket Racing, Ballistic, and most poignant for this video, Fortnite Festival's battle stage. Now, obviously, the big deal here are the fact that the layoffs happened at all and that they shouldn't have, and we will get back to this, don't you worry, but I first want to talk about these specific modes as they were. Anyone that remembers when Fortnite Festival first came out likely also remembers the start of Rocket Racing, as they were both shown off in the same sort of sizzle reel back in the day. Basically, it was a standard racing game, but with Rocket League cars, or cars that you could also use in BR. It was a really fun game mode if you just wanted to jump in, play for 2 minutes, and jump out. You didn't have to dedicate a chunk of your day to it like playing a BR match. I feel that Rocket Racing's biggest hurdle was the lack of support outside of its launch. There weren't a ton of maps to drive around on, aside from user-created ones in the few that came out with the game mode. Ballistic was Fortnite's answer to Counter-Strike, their first-person only mode, and I thought it felt pretty damn good. Again, the biggest problem with it was the fact that there were very few maps to play on, so it got very stale and repetitive. And if you're watching this video, I'm gonna just assume you knew exactly what Battle Stage was. It's basically Fortnite Festival's PvP mode, and it was still fun to go back to every once in a while, although once again, there was very little support from Epic after its launch. We got a couple aesthetic changes, yeah, but no new power-ups. The ability to filter by specific instruments came way too late, and there was very little support outside of just bug fixes and aesthetic updates. Are you seeing a pattern here? These game modes were essentially abandoned by Epic the minute they hit the publish button. Could they have rejuvenated them by introducing new features into all of them and making them more interesting? Absolutely, but they didn't. They just didn't feel like it, and as such, 1,000 people lost their livelihoods. 1,000 people will no longer be able to pay their rent or mortgages. 1,000 people lost their health insurance, and not to mention life insurance, including some that were terminally fucking ill. Clearly, Tim Sweeney hasn't taken any note from Satoru Iwata or Gabe Newell. When these oversights are your own fault and you're punishing innocent people for following instructions, then you're running your company like a bitch. I appreciate what you've done for the environment, and I obviously appreciate your game and your engine, but did you seriously think this through before you pulled the trigger? I obviously don't know how to recover from a topic like that, and from a personal gameplay standpoint, even putting aside the layoffs, which is a disgusting sentence to say, I'm bummed out that I won't be able to experience Battle Stage anymore. This mode had so much goddamn potential that was just left on the table. Oh well. For the last year, I've gotten at least one comment on every single one of these season review videos asking how to escape the Fortnite ecosystem because they do not like the direction the company is going and they're worried about having access to Fortnite Festival. In the past, I've talked about games like Yarg, Clone Hero, Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition. Obviously, we have Stage Tour and Sound System coming up. However, even more alternatives are starting to show their heads. What you're seeing right now is not gameplay of Rock Band 3 Deluxe that I captured on my modded Xbox 360. This is gameplay of the Rock Band 3 PC port. No, I'm not joking. This is actually a thing thanks to ReXGlue, which is a native recompiler that turns Xbox 360 games into Windows executables. And it's not just Rock Band 3, by the way. Here's Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock. Yes, this is running natively on my computer, and I'm not making that up. If you want to leave the Fortnite ecosystem and still have access to a festival like Rhythm Game, you do have options, and even more are popping up what seems to be every month. Both of these projects are early works in progress, and you do have to compile them yourself, but they show amazing potential. So don't stress yourself out too much if you do want to leave Fortnite's ecosystem, but you still want to have access to that same Fortnite Festival gameplay because the community does have your back. Anyway, with all of that being said, what are your guys' reactions to this news? And what are your reactions to the things coming up in the next season, like the pro vocals and pro drums? This has been Dan Rock, and I'll see you guys later. I'm muting my vocal gameplay to spare your eardrums. You're all welcome. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its quintecennial anniversary, its 15th season. That's absolutely insane to think about. And to start off the bat with some fantastic news, we've broken the curse of non-stop pop singers with this seasonal icon, Leve, the Icelandic jazz singer. While I have nothing against pop as a genre, the fact that Fortnite Festival became a pop music note-hitting simulator and pretty much nothing else for a very long time made things feel extremely stale and repetitive. So switching things up with a jazz singer is 100% the right move in my opinion. Now I'll admit I wasn't familiar with Leve before the actual season started, so upon doing some research and listening to some of her music both in-game as well as on streaming services, yeah, it's pretty good stuff. It's not my preferred style of jazz. I'm more of a cool fusion kind of guy. I think a more allegro tempo just fits the instrumentation a little bit better, but her notation and lyrics are written perfectly for her specific subgenre, so no notes there. It doesn't lead to a ton of chart variety, unfortunately, across very many instruments aside from vocals, which makes perfect sense. This is the season that Pro Vocals was introduced, or karaoke mode as the game calls it now. As predicted, it plays pretty much identically to the Rock Band / Guitar Hero / Karaoke Revolution style, which makes total sense. All three of those were developed by Harmonix, who are developing Fortnite Festival, so yeah, it makes sense they're going to use their tried and tested award-winning format. Now, unlike the Rock Band engine for vocals, I will say the Fortnite Festival one does feel a bit loose in my opinion. That may not necessarily be a bad thing if they're intentionally trying to lower the skill ceiling so more vocalists have a chance, especially considering the fact that they're naming it karaoke mode after all. They're being very open with the fact that this is a mode that pretty much anyone can play, regardless if they have experience with past highway rhythm games. For me personally though, despite the fact that I know how to play several real instruments, I've always struggled with singing. And that obviously translates to Guitar Hero and Rock Band as well, because singing in those games is basically the exact same as just performing a cover in real life. I personally find vocals to be the most difficult instrument to play out of the main four for that specific reason. Now, why the hell am I bringing this up? Because Fortnite Festival awarded me FC after FC on Pro Vocals, both songs in my register and outside of my register. It felt a little too generous. I was struggling a bit with pitch staccato notes, but there weren't really too many situations where that would come up. Now, again, that's probably intentional. Harmonix probably did this so more people could find the vocal engine to be comfortable. I'm just saying that it doesn't feel nearly as difficult as the previous games. Does it still feel rewarding? Absolutely. I can't sing for shit, so getting an FC, that's one hell of a dopamine kick. If it helps me put down the noose for another week, I'm okay with that. Rounding out the full band experience, sorry keyboardists, is Pro Drums. Now, I've never been the best 4-lane drummer. As a matter of fact, I kind of suck at it. Nevertheless, I did try to get my drum drum set working on Fortnite Festival, but sadly neither the PC version nor the PlayStation 5 version of Fortnite Festival were able to detect my PlayStation drum set. I find this to be especially odd considering the fact that this is the exact same drum set that I used for Rock Band 4, so clearly the PS5 can detect the peripheral. I know this technically isn't a MIDI instrument, but I've tried every menu and nothing. Perhaps I'm screwing something up, but judging by Festival's track record, it wouldn't surprise me if Epic and Harmonix were intentionally limiting the amount of compatible instruments. I mean, they've done it before. Remember the limited guitar support in Season 3 when you either had to use a Riffmaster or a Rock Band 4 guitar? Just food for thought, although again, it could very well just be me fucking something up on my end. Overall, I do love seeing the fact that Pro Drums exists in Fortnite Festival at all. It shows that they're actually listening to us regarding features that we wanted in the game. Select songs also have their applicable double bass charting as well for if you want to play on 2x kick drum. This inclusion is truly making Fortnite Festival finally, after nearly 3 years, start to resemble Rock Band 5. The only major thing we're missing right now, and it's something I've asked for since day one, is a practice mode. But perhaps that's for a reason. Maybe they feel they won't get enough of a return on their investment for that one. Additionally, the pad as well as Pro and Pro Bass engines feel basically identical with no major changes or bug fixes since last season. One of these bugs is surprisingly the one where it displays incorrect album art on the song selection screen. That's insane to me. You'd think the labels would probably get upset about this. As for festival adjacent things, such as their competition, Stage Tour has started appearing at various events. While the February trailer may have garnered some criticism, a ton of people who have actually played the game at events such as IGN Live and San Diego Comic-Con have reported that the engine itself feels absolutely fantastic, and the song library so far has been nothing short of promising. This truly is shaping up to be something special, and I'm hoping Epic Games does see this as legitimate competition, because I would like to see Festival take some notes and improve. Especially right now, considering the fact that they seem to be taking a weirdly opposite stance with Fortnite Festival. Now, a bit of a side tangent here. Video game leakers have existed since the dawn of time, but Fortnite leakers in particular are a league of their own. A lot of these are data miners, and some of them have even been hypothesized to be Epic employees or on Epic's payroll to drum up hype and attention for upcoming skins and collaborations. A lot of these high-profile leakers get almost everything correct, so it's hard to take their opinion with only a grain of salt. So as a festival fan, imagine my frustration when I see leaked upcoming skins and packs that include jam tracks only for them not to release with said jam tracks. This happened with the Amazing Digital Circus, it happened with K-pop Demon Hunters, it allegedly happened with Sonic the Hedgehog, and most recently it happened with American Dad. Now I know that these were never officially announced, so it's not something to necessarily get upset over. However, it is a little bit alarming that it seems that Epic is putting less of a priority into festival jam tracks, and we're seeing more and more quote-unquote meme songs that are doubtlessly cheaper to license and are probably a little easier to nab the licenses for as well. Now, the world of music licensing is kind of terrifying, and I'm not even going to pretend I know anything about it, but it does appear that Epic is trying to wind down their priorities when it comes to licensing high-profile music in exchange for licensing lower-profile meme songs and TikTok trends, which is a bit sad to see. I can't be too upset considering how beefy Fortnite Festival's music library truly is at this point, but then again, we can't even purchase the majority of the songs because of the rotating item shop bullshit. They've still done very little to remedy the FOMO issue that Fortnite has been plagued with since day one, and when you're locking gameplay behind a paywall like this and drip-feeding meme songs as bi-weekly charts, I can't help but feel a little insulted. Especially when it seems that no other major improvements have really been happening. The game still has its identity crisis, with Olivia Rodrigo now being the selection screen for Festival Mainstage despite not being the headliner. Because that's not confusing at all. It almost gives the impression that Epic doesn't really know what to do with Festival anymore, and that's a little bit alarming. And that's pretty much all I have to say. What are your guys' thoughts about Season 14? Let me know in the comments. This has been Dan Rock, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, and rock on.